That's where I pulled up her body out and rolled it down there.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be looking at the most infamous people whose confessions to shocking crimes were caught on tape.
Let me bring my old hand and shoulder.
Why don't you draw where the bloodstains would have been?
Christopher Fattore,
I didn't like Caleb Harrison. I didn't like the way he treated my kids. I didn't like hearing all the horrific stories. It was an awful family.
Between 2009 and 2013, in the Canadian city of Mississauga, 3 members of the Harrison family, Bill, Bridget, and Caleb, were found dead inside the same home amid a bitter custody war involving Caleb's ex-wife, Melissa Merritt, and her partner, Christopher Fattore. Early deaths were misread as medical or accidental. Caleb's 2013 homicide forced a re-examination and focused investigations on the couple.
And I'm telling you right now that Melissa Merritt did not know anything until after it was done.
What did you do?
I killed Bridget Harrison and Caleb Harrison.
In a recorded Peel Regional Police interview played for the jury, Fattore admits killing Bridget and Caleb. In January 2018, Fattore was convicted of first-degree murder in the deaths of Bridget and Caleb, acquitted in Bill's 2009 death, and received life with no parole eligibility for 25 years.
That's not the plan. That's not what I wanted. I figured that someone would come home, or Caleb would come home and find her.
Nathan Matthews.
So Nathan, we've had a short break. Perhaps if I just flag up for the recording what this interview's about. It's about the kidnap and murder of Becky Watts.
Becky Watts' disappearance in 2015 shook the city of Bristol, England. The 16-year-old was last seen at her family home before vanishing without a trace. Suspicion soon fell on her stepbrother, Nathan Matthews, known for his withdrawn and troubled behavior. Under questioning, Matthews eventually admitted in a written statement that he killed Becky during what was described by the media as a kidnap plot gone wrong.
I don't want that to be read to someone.
I don't want to read this out in full again, Nathan, but what I wanted to do was get some more detail from you about things that you've said in it.
His taped confession included details about how he planned the abduction and how it escalated fatally. Matthews was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 33 years. The confession, combined with physical evidence, underscored the premeditated nature of the crime and left the community grappling with how violence could emerge within a family home.
And I came up with the idea to scare her, because, to try and basically make her more appreciative of life, so she'd be more appreciative for other people. She'd be, grateful that, she wasn't harmed or anything like that.
Nathaniel Marcus Gann.
This is the most important hour of your entire life. And you know what else? We told Bray the same thing. She made the right decision. She told us everything. Every single living and breathing detail.
San Diego, July 2007. Siblings Nathaniel Marcus Gann and Bray F. Hansen plotted to make their stepfather Timothy McNeil's killing look like a home invasion. Gann drove from Arizona after a failed hitman plan. Zip ties, a duplicate key, and staging details were set to sell the robbery story. The on-camera admission in this case came from Gann.
No. I just didn't want to get back in together. I didn't want to lose my dad. You're gonna be okay, Nathan. I think that I've been fine. You think you should die, what you said?
After first placing a 911 call as a supposed victim, Hansen gave a recorded post-arrest interview confessing the conspiracy. The fake break-in, tying, demands for the safe combination, and Gann's masked role. Tried together with separate juries, Gann was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 25 to life. Hansen was convicted with a true lying-in-wait finding and received life without parole.
I remember him saying it like 1,000 times. Yeah. Just, you killed me. You killed me. Why didn't you kill me?
Cam McLeod and Briar Schmigelski.
The Dees Lake area investigation into the disappearance of Cam McLeod and Briar Schmigelski, their vehicle recovery, and the discovery of an unidentified deceased male continues. On July 19, 2019, the Dees Lake RCMP responded to a vehicle fire south of the Stikine River Bridge on Highway 37.
A manhunt began after teenagers Cam McLeod and Briar Schmigelski were suspected of murdering 3 people in the summer of 2019. Their flight across remote northern Canada made international headlines.
For the past few days, investigators have been focusing their efforts on locating Cam and Briar, given that their vehicle and camper had been located on fire and the 2 were considered missing. We have also been working to identify a man whose body was discovered deceased 2 kilometers south of the vehicle fire at a highway pullout.
Before their self-inflicted deaths in the Manitoba wilderness, the teens recorded several cell phone videos. In these clips, they admitted to the killings, discussing their lack of escape option, and even hinted at how they expected their story to end. The RCMP later described the recordings as confessions of guilt, though they withheld full release out of respect for the victims. Both bodies were discovered after weeks of searching. The videos provided investigators and grieving families confirmation of responsibility.
We knew that we needed just to find that one piece of evidence that could move this search forward. On Friday, August 2nd, that one critical piece of evidence was found. Items directly linked to the suspects were located on the shoreline of the Nelson River.
Jeremy Skibicki.
These are the first few moments after Jeremy Skibicki was arrested, the early morning hours of May 17, 2022. The 37-year-old taken into a police interrogation room by 2 officers. Skibicki gets settled in.
Police in Winnipeg, Manitoba linked Jeremy Skibicki to the murders of 4 Indigenous women, Rebecca Contois, Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, and Ashley Shingoose. The killings, all within a few months in 2022, ignited grief in Indigenous communities. During videotaped interrogations, Skibicki shared his belief that, quote, this was something that God called him to do, end quote.
You know, this is how he knew most life.
Skibicki appears at ease, sitting back in his seat, relaxed. At one point, he lays down to nap on the floor. Hours in, he makes a shocking confession.
I killed 4 people. Okay.
He described how he lured them, killed them, and disposed of their remains. The tapes captured not only the details of his crimes, but also his disturbing lack of remorse.
His lawyers are arguing he shouldn't be held criminally responsible because of a mental disorder.
And really, it was like, you know, like a lion, you know, with prey itself.
He tells police he didn't know all the victims' names, but remembered Morgan Harris and her last moments.
Skibicki pleaded not guilty, but his recorded admissions are expected to be central evidence. The case has become a flashpoint for discussion about systemic neglect of Indigenous women, as well as failures of law enforcement to prevent serial violence.
I was very overconfident by the last thought because I was like, sure, I would get away with it. Because the other times, like, they were like in the bin for like 4 or 5 days.
The Crown is arguing he was intentional with his killings and they were racially motivated.
Christopher Lee Watts.
I don't want to protect her. What? I don't want to protect her. You don't want to protect her? I don't know what else to say. What happened? Huh? She hurt him? Yeah. And then I killed her.
In 2018, Watts appeared on local news, pleading for the safe return of his pregnant wife Shannon and their 2 young daughters. The performance drew sympathy, but also suspicion. After hours of questioning, Watts finally broke down during videotaped interrogations, admitting he killed Shannon and later his children.
I don't know, like, what else to say, like, I freaked out. Those are my kids.
The contrast between his public facade and recorded confession shocked the nation. Watts received multiple life sentences without parole. The footage of his lies unraveling and eventual admission has since become a chilling example of how investigators extract truth in the face of deception.
You know when you're beating all the bodies off or something? I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I freaked out. I didn't know nothing else to do. I didn't know what to do.
Joran Vandersloot.
Ik had erbij. Ik had er helemaal geen slecht gevoel bij. Ik heb er geen nacht slaap over verloren.
Unbelievable. How can you sleep? I did this thing. I had a lot of days I couldn't even sleep. And I was harming nobody.
The disappearance of Natalie Holloway in Aruba in 2005 became an international media storm. Joran Vandersloot was long considered a suspect, but hard evidence was elusive.
Despite having no training, he posed as a dealer looking to set up an operation. And the key, he ignored any talk about Natalie Holloway. With the foundation laid, he called television journalist Peter de Vries, who hired him.
I had my Range Rover waiting all that time, with cameras, everything in it. Peter de Vries, with people waiting outside filming. We were all ready for him.
In 2008, Dutch journalist Peter de Vries aired undercover footage of Vandersloot apparently confessing to disposing of Holloway's body.
Dus hebben we gewoon haar genomen naar die boot.
Getild.
Ja, met z'n tweetjes even snel. En
niemand heeft je gezien toen ook.
An admission that now brings two strangers, a mother and an informant, together.
I mean, Patrick Ewing did my nightmare.
Though he later claimed he was lying, the tapes renewed global scrutiny. Years later, in an unrelated case, he confessed in Peru to the murder of Stephanie Flores. Vandersloot is now serving a 28-year sentence in Peru, with extradition to the U.S. expected. His confessions, partial or otherwise, cemented his notoriety as a symbol of arrogance and evasion.
Maar ja, ik heb het ook goed gespeeld hoor, in het begin. Want in het begin, ik dacht, jongen, ik kan ze vertellen wat ze willen, weet je. Want als ze toch geen bewijs tegen me krijgen, dan ja...
Samuel Little.
I was still in Las Vegas, yeah.
Okay.
But I was on the very outskirts.
All right.
The very outskirts. There was a couple of motels I remember, gas stations, and there. It was scattered, because it was getting thin population as you go further out.
For decades, Samuel Little drifted across the U.S., living on the margins. By the time of his arrest in 2012, he was already a suspect in several unsolved murders. In 2018, Little sat for videotaped interviews with the FBI, where he calmly confessed to killing more than 90 women between 1970 and 2005.
She was pretty, a light-skinned, brown, honey-colored skin. And she was about 5, she was about tall, she was tall for a woman, about 5'8", 5'9", and it's beautiful shape.
He even sketched his victims from memory, lending chilling credibility to his accounts. The FBI later confirmed him as America's most prolific serial killer, linking his words to dozens of unsolved cases. Little died in prison in 2020, leaving behind a trail of victims finally acknowledged, but justice delayed for decades.
I grabbed her by the legs and pulled her to the water. That's the only one that I ever killed by drowning.
Describe the location where she's left.
Okay, I left her with her head still there in the water, half her body in the underwater, and her thighs and legs on the bank.
Brendan Dassey.
Now, let's be honest. What did he tell you? What did he show you? What did you see and what did he tell you? Let's be honest here, Brendan.
Dassey was a Wisconsin teenager when his uncle Stephen Avery was accused of murdering Teresa Halbach in 2005. The case gained global attention through Netflix's Making a Murderer. During police interrogations, Dassey gave a halting, inconsistent confession describing his role in the crime.
What was it?
That he punched her.
What else? It's okay. What did he make you do?
Cut her.
Cut her where?
Recorded on video, His statements raised serious concerns about coercion, comprehension, and the vulnerability of minors in interrogation settings. Though later recanting, Dassey was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Appeals courts wrestled with whether his confession was voluntary, but the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear his case, leaving him incarcerated amid continuing debate about justice and fairness.
We know, we just need you to tell us. That's all I can remember.
Ariel Castro.
I took her to the master bedroom.
Okay.
And I chained her to the bed. I chained her to, there's a steam radiator there.
In 2013, the world was stunned when 3 women escaped Ariel Castro's Cleveland home after a decade in captivity. The house, once an unremarkable address, became a symbol of unimaginable horror. Once in custody, Castro sat down with police for hours of videotaped interviews. He admitted to the abductions, repeated assaults, and years of psychological manipulation.
Did you threaten her at that point?
No, I just told her to be quiet.
You just told her to be quiet? Be quiet or what?
Just to be quiet.
Okay.
Because, I didn't want the neighbors to hear anything or to get in trouble.
Okay. And did you bind her hands also?
No.
Did you put anything in her mouth?
His confessions, later released, confirmed the women's accounts and revealed the calculated cruelty of his crimes. Castro pled guilty to over 900 charges and received a life sentence without parole plus 1,000 years. Just weeks into his imprisonment, he was found dead in his cell, closing one of the darkest chapters in Ohio's history.
Having 4 kids and now 5. I don't understand how I did that. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and I still don't understand how I went through with these things.
Mark Castellano.
I feel dead inside already.
Mark Castellano shared an apartment in Houston, Texas with his ex-girlfriend Michelle Warner and their young son Caden. In September 2012, the former couple got into a heated argument that ended in Warner's death at Castellano's hands.
I come home, she's in her room. The first thing she does is start yelling at me that Caden has made a big mess.
The 31-year-old mother was reported missing by her family, and all eyes soon turned to Castellano as the suspect. As the case gained traction, Castellano sat for an interview with Dr. Phil, in which he insisted that Warner had left the apartment after the argument and never returned.
Did she just walk away from the apartment, you think?
I'm sure someone picked her up. She doesn't walk anywhere.
So you think she called somebody to come get her?
She had to.
Just days later, however, Castellano turned himself in and owned up to the crime in a taped interrogation with the police.
When I came back, I just got rid of her.
Where did you get rid of her?
He was later found guilty of Warner's murder and sentenced to 27 years in prison.
Can't live with this anymore either, man.
I know.
I wanted to tell Dr. Phil, but...
Natavia Lowry. The 2007 murder of celebrity realtor and former music manager Linda Stein in her Manhattan apartment soon became the subject of a media frenzy. Upon close investigation, authorities narrowed in on Stein's personal assistant, Natavia Lowry, who was reported to have had a strained relationship with her boss.
Why am I here? What's going on? How did I get to this point? I'm asking myself that.
In her interrogation, Lowry seemingly confessed to her role in Stein's murder, claiming that the real estate broker had provoked her by blowing smoke in her face and uttering racially insensitive remarks.
And, her screaming and yelling, I just snatched it from her. So I took it and I just hit her with it.
Apparently, Lowry had stolen $30,000 from Stein and likely killed her when she was confronted about it. Although she later recanted her confession, Lowry was convicted and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison.
I felt bad. I felt sorry.
Geordie Brooke. In November of 2014, Peter Steer, an Australian cameraman for 7 News, was sent to the coastal town of Noosaheads in Queensland to cover a shooting. On his way there, he was hailed down by a man on a motorbike named Geordie Brooke, who disclosed that he was the perpetrator of the incident in question. Steer then called the authorities as he filmed Brooke making a teary confession to the crime. While waiting for police, Brooke had a change of heart and stole the cameraman's car at gunpoint. He was eventually arrested after crashing into a gas station and brought up on multiple charges, including attempted murder and armed robbery.
And he just walked up to me purposefully, looked me in the eyes and asked me for a cigarette lighter.
Jared Murray. Jared Murray and Gennaro Sanchez were both freshmen at East Central University in Oklahoma in 2012. On December 5th, Murray lured Sanchez into driving him to a Walmart by offering to pay him $20.
He panicked, went to pull out his phone. I yanked the phone out of his hand, and then he panicked some more, kept telling me not to kill him.
This would be Sanchez's last ride, as he was gunned down by Murray in his own car.
Kept telling me not to kill him. To make him feel more comfortable, I unloaded the clip, unloaded the bullet from the chamber, handed them over to him, and that eased his nerves.
Murray fled the scene but was eventually arrested while attempting to hitchhike to Canada. During police interrogation, Murray quickly owned up to the crime, giving a chilling confession seemingly devoid of any remorse.
Shot once, missed. Shot a second time, hit. He was driving 10-15 miles an hour, so it was rather slow.
He admitted to planning the murder weeks ahead and believed he deserved the death penalty.
Death sentence, sir.
And why do you think you deserved a death sentence?
An eye for an eye, sir.
Instead, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity and remanded to a mental health facility. Christian Romero. Even before he became a teenager, Christian Romero had already committed murder. In November of 2008, Romero shot and killed his father Vincent and their tenant Timothy Romans after they got home from work. The crimes baffled investigators, who examined a bunch of other suspects before confronting the inevitable truth. Initially, Romero had stated that he returned home from school to find both men already dead.
Fallen on the ground. And I said, Dad?
However, when police questioned him further, he admitted to committing the murders himself. In a deal with the prosecution, Romero pleaded guilty to the negligent homicide of Romans, but was spared from being charged with the death of his father. He was first committed to a treatment facility indefinitely, but gained his freedom when he turned 18. Russell Williams.
A woman was at home alone when she was surprised by a male intruder. She said he blindfolded her, tied her up.
Having served in the Canadian Air Force for 23 years, Russell Williams rose to the rank of colonel and was commander of the largest military air base in Canada. In February 2010, Williams was linked to the assault and murder of Jessica Lloyd through the tire tracks found outside her home.
Williams was informed the distinctive tires of his SUV matched the tracks in the field next to Jessica Lloyd's house.
He was taken in for questioning and eventually broke, confessing to not only Lloyd's murder, but also to other assaults and burglaries in the area.
Where am I going on here to get to her?
In this block here.
Okay. So you're pointing to
a detailed map of that area, and I'll show you where she is.
Williams forcefully entered women's homes, not to steal any valuables, but to collect their underwear, which he would then wear and take pictures of himself in. He was tried on multiple charges, including murder, assault, and 82 counts of breaking and entering, resulting in a life sentence.
That's an involuntary reaction, we call, but that's indicative of what's going on internally. And what he's nodding to is, holy shit, it's my boot.
Earl Valentine.
And I don't feel no motherfucking remorse for what I did.
While many individuals have confessed to their crimes in interviews or during police interrogations, Earl Valentine basically bragged about his on Facebook.
She lied on me, had warrants taken out on me. She drugged me all the way down to nothing.
In an eerie live stream in September 2016, Valentine admitted to shooting his ex-wife Keisha and their son Earl Jr. Keisha had moved to Norlina, North Carolina with Earl Jr. in an attempt to escape Valentine after her restraining order against him had expired. In the video, Valentine accused his ex-wife of trying to tarnish his image and claims to have shot her in retribution.
I loved my wife, but she deserved what she had coming.
Police later tracked down Valentine to a motel in Columbia, South Carolina, but found that he had already taken his own life.
We're pretty angry about it, and especially because of the way he's acting over it.
Daniel Wozniak.
And you will be my true love.
A community theater actor in Costa Mesa, California, Daniel Wozniak was arrested in May 2010 after the body of Julie Kibuishi was discovered in his neighbor Sam Hare's apartment. At the time, police were on the hunt for Hare, who was presumed to have fled after ending Kibuishi's life.
He's like, I shot somebody.
I was not happy about it. It was a fit of rage, and honestly, she had it coming.
While in police custody, Wozniak initially denied having anything to do with the crime.
So I'm staying there. Absolutely. You're arrested for murder.
But after a few hours of questioning, he eventually confessed to killing Kibuishi and Hare, who was a war veteran in a bid to collect his combat pay savings.
I'm crazy and I did it.
You did what?
I killed Julie and I killed Sam.
In 2016, Wozniak was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder and handed the death penalty. Israel Keyes. To describe Israel Keyes as terrifying will be quite an understatement.
There is no one who knows me, or who has ever known me, who knows anything about me, really.
The Utah-born serial killer orchestrated multiple carefully planned murders across several states in the United States. After kidnapping and killing his last confirmed victim, Samantha Koenig, Keyes was arrested in Alaska when he tried withdrawing money from an ATM with her debit card. While in police custody, Keyes chillingly described his crimes, although leaving out just enough detail to avoid being directly linked with any confirmed case.
When I was smart, I would let them come to me. Just remote area.
Still, he confessed to the murders of Koenig and a middle-aged couple named Bill and Lorraine Courier.
You might not get exactly what there's not as much to choose from in a manner of speaking, but there's also no witnesses, really. There's nobody else around.
Prosecutors were still putting their case against Keyes together when he took his own life in his jail cell. Steve Stevens. 37-year-old Steve Stevens became the subject of an extensive police manhunt in April 2017 when he uploaded a video to Facebook which showed him committing a murder. In the clip, recorded on his phone, Stevens randomly stops Robert Godwin, an elderly man walking down the street, who he briefly talks to before fatally shooting him.
Can you say Joy Lane?
Joy Lane?
Yeah.
The crime was reportedly motivated by problems Stevens was having with his girlfriend at the time. That same day, he uploaded another video in which he also admitted to killing more people, although those claims were not verified by police. 2 days later, Stevens was spotted at a McDonald's drive-thru, but ended up taking his own life before police could arrest him.
We told him he was waiting on his fries for a minute just to kind of buy some time for the cops if it actually was him. And he said he had no time to wait, he had to go. And at that point, he took his chicken McNuggets and left.
Melissa Miller.
Just start at the beginning.
Okay, let me take a couple of breaths.
In February of 2013, colleagues of Annie Meyer filed a missing persons report after she was absent from work for several days. Over the next few months, police questioned those who were close to Meyer, but found it difficult to gain any substantial information from her roommate and former partner, Melissa Miller.
Our Colorado mountains create a perfect burial ground until the snow melts.
It wasn't until July, when Meyer's remains were found, that Miller decided to cooperate with police. In her taped interview with investigators, Miller painted a relationship with Meyer that was fraught with tension due to money problems. She then confessed to killing her while they were on a hike in the Colorado mountains.
She poked at me and I just turned with the walking stick as a reaction and hit her.
After pleading guilty to second-degree murder, Miller was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
In court today, Melissa Miller is already making plans to see her friends and family next.
Howard.
Sean Vincent Gillis.
The word monster come to mind.
The crimes of Sean Vincent Gillis were so despicable that even he referred to himself as pure evil. Over a 10-year period, Gillis claimed the lives of 8 women in and around the Baton Rouge area in Louisiana. Dubbed the Other Baton Rouge Killer, he was known to perform disturbing acts on the bodies of his victims.
What kind of tools did you bring with you for the monster brain?
In one case, it was a fishing knife.
In 2004, he was arrested and charged with 3 murders and ended up confessing to all 3 plus an additional 5. Gillis went into detail about how he would hunt down his victims and the gruesome ways he ended their lives.
There was a pipe on the ground. Not even a pipe, it was like a steel rod. Kind of like rebar, but smoother.
He was, however, only convicted of the initial 3 murders and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. David Tarloff. David Tarloff had struggled with mental illness from at least his early 20s. In 1991, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia by a psychiatrist named Kent Schinbach, who recommended his involuntary commitment to a psychiatric facility.
Ankle that hurt.
All I wanted was to get money from him.
Fast forward to 2008. Tarloff visited Shinbach's office once again, only this time his goal was to rob the doctor and use his money to care for his ailing mother. Instead, Tarloff ended up killing Catherine Fahey, another psychiatrist who shared an office with Shinbach, in what he claimed was self-defense. Police traced fingerprints from the crime to Tarloff, who rambled his way through a confession when questioned.
Nobody was going to be there. I went to it because I heard a noise and I just wanted to go in and look, and she attacked me. Everything happened so fast.
Following 2 mistrials, he was eventually convicted and handed a life sentence in 2014. Mark Chopper Reed. One of the most notorious criminals in Australian history, Mark Chopper Reed had a long rap sheet that included crimes like armed robbery, kidnapping, and arson.
And you stand back and you go, smash to the back of the head.
Reed's notorious activities led to him spending a large chunk of his adult life incarcerated. While in prison, the infamous gangster contracted hepatitis C and was diagnosed with liver cancer years later.
Put your hand up.
Right, this one?
Yeah, you pack it on. I didn't even love that.
Just before his death, Reed sat for a televised interview with 60 Minutes Australia, where he admitted to having been responsible for the deaths of 4 people.
What was your involvement in his murder?
Oh, just the bloke that killed him.
Perhaps the most shocking thing about the interview, which was granted just 16 days before his death, was the casual nature with which Reed described his graphic crimes.
The pub's keg cellar became Des Costello's temporary tomb.
Yeah, and he's gone.
When you threw, why are you laughing?
Down he goes.
Robert Willie Picton. Possibly one of Canada's most prolific serial killers, the crimes of Robert Willie Picton sent shockwaves through the country when they were eventually discovered.
Really?
Picton had inherited a large pig farm from his family and reportedly fed the corpses of his victims to his pigs. In 2002, police stormed Picton's farm on an illegal firearms warrant, but ended up finding personal effects belonging to multiple missing women. He was charged with 26 counts of murder, but in a chilling jail cell surveillance video, Picton confessed to an undercover officer that he had claimed the lives of 49 women and even, quote, wanted one more. For his despicable crimes, Picton was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Gary Ridgway.
My strategy was to get him talking and to have him do most of the talking.
Dubbed the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway terrorized girls and women in the states of Washington and Oregon in the 80s and 90s. While his victim count is believed to be as high as 90, Ridgway was convicted of 49 murders, the second highest number of confirmed killings in U.S. history. Ridgway sat for multiple interviews with authorities, most notably with FBI profiler Dr. Mary Ellen O'Toole, in which he confessed to more killings and detailed how he picked up his victims.
Driving down the road, so I whipped out my ID, and with my ID would be I put my finger over my driver's license to hide my name.
Throughout these interviews, he owned up to the most murders for any American serial killer.
They would know I was a fucking normal person.
But you were really using your son as part of your ruse.
Due to his plea agreement, Ridgway avoided execution and was instead sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Ed Kemper.
I was getting better at it. I was getting less detectable. I started flaunting that invisibility.
A truly disturbing figure, Ed Kemper was responsible for the deaths of 10 people, including his own mother and paternal grandparents. After killing his mother and one of her friends on April 20th, 1973, Kemper called the police and confessed to the crimes.
One victim let me back in the car. I locked myself out. She opened the door for me. My gun was under the seat.
Of the 10 murders, Kemper was charged with and convicted of 8, for which he was handed 8 consecutive life sentences.
And I'm picking up young women, and I'm going a little bit farther each time. It's a daring kind of a thing.
Throughout his life in prison, Kemper granted multiple interviews, such as for the documentary Murder, No Apparent Motive, during which he opened up about his crimes in explicit details.
So how come they get in a car with somebody at that time?
She judged me not to be that guy. I didn't look like him.
He was also profiled by agents of the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit. which was portrayed in the Netflix series Mindhunter. Robert Durst.
I am going to go use the restroom, which is right here.
The Jinx was a 6-part true crime docuseries that aired on HBO in 2015. The critically acclaimed show was centered around real estate tycoon Robert Durst, who at the time was suspected of killing his wife, Kathleen McCormick, and friend Susan Berman. In the final episode, Durst is shown a damning handwritten letter about Berman's murder that seemed to match his writing, but he flat out denies being the author.
There it is. You're caught.
Then, in what is arguably one of the most shocking moments in TV history, he goes to the bathroom and seemingly confesses to the crimes while his mic is still recording.
Killed them all. Of course.
Durst was later given a life sentence for Berman's death, but he died of cardiac arrest just 3 months later. The BTK Killer. The BTK Killer was the self-imposed nickname of American serial killer Dennis Rader.
After you tied them up, what occurred?
Well, they started complaining about being tied up, and I re-loosened the bonds a couple of times, tried to make Mr. Otero as comfortable as I could.
Rader murdered 10 people in the state of Kansas between 1974 and 1991 and sent letters to the authorities bragging about it. He was eventually caught in 2005 after sending police a floppy disk with metadata that revealed his identity.
I didn't have a mask on or anything. They already could ID me, and made a decision to go ahead and put him down, I guess, or strangle him.
On the day of his trial, Rader surprised the court by instead pleading guilty to all 10 counts of first-degree murder and vividly recounted how he carried them out.
Tied his feet to the bedpost, at the bottom of the bedpost, so he couldn't run. Kind of tied her in the other bedroom.
Throughout the chilling, nearly 1-hour-long confession, Rader offered no apologies for his actions and was later handed 10 consecutive life sentences. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Ted Bundy.
To have been possessed by something so awful and so alien, and then the next morning wake up from it.
You'd be hard-pressed to find an American adult who hasn't heard the name Ted Bundy. The infamous serial killer claimed at least 30 lives over a 4-year period, although that number is believed to be much higher. After he was caught and sentenced to death for 3 of the murders, Bundy appealed the decision up to the U.S. Supreme Court to no avail. On the eve of his execution, Bundy sat for a taped interview in which he admitted guilt to the crimes and described the true nature of his murderous tendencies.
For the record, you are guilty of killing many women and girls. Yes. Yes, that's true.
A few hours later, Bundy's reign of terror came to an end when he was executed in the electric chair on January 24th, 1989.
That I can't begin to understand the pain that the parents of these children that I have, and these young women that I have harmed, feel.
Which true crime confession on our list shocked you the most? Be sure to let us know in the comments below.